Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So now we will be starting with the C# language fundamentals. Okay, so it all starts with the Hello World program to understand the program structure, how it is created, how it is laid out, what all fundamental things we need to know. And for that reason, we will not be immediately getting into the Visual Studio environment. Rather, we will be using Notepad first of all, and then we'll see exactly how the structure is created, how it is compiled, and how we can execute it, and then we'll move into Visual Studio. So let's go step by step. Just open Notepad on your machines. If you have Notepad++, you can use that. Otherwise, the Windows Notepad also is enough. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so first program that is going to display Hello World on screen starts like this. Create a class program. Now, one question here. Our target is to display Hello World on the screen. So why the class is needed? Can't we just write main function and get Hello World displayed on screen? That would have been nice, right? Simpler. Just like how we do it in C or C++. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now here we need to understand that each language that confirms to be a .NET language is supposed to be a complete object-oriented language. And when I say it is complete object-oriented language, what does it mean? Even the entry point of your program has to be within the scope of some object. Do you understand?
Yes.
That is why here in any .NET language, when you're writing the program, even if it is hello world thing, it has to have that main also as the part of some class. What is the name of that class that you can decide? It need not be program always. It can be anything, but the class is necessary. Understood?
Yes.
Okay, so here goes our main. Just one difference you have here. M is main only, but M is capital. The reason behind that is C# follows the naming convention strongly, and in that it has to follow that naming convention even for the entry point. So main M has to be capital. Naming convention says that you can use camel casing for variables. You have to use all caps for constants, and for all other identifiers, type identifiers, function identifiers, property identifiers, event identifiers, you have to use Pascal casing. Now here we need to understand What is camel casing and what is Pascal casing? Camel casing is
Every new word in the identifier
starts with a
starts
capital
with
letter except the first one, right?
Yes.
So suppose if you have right line as the name, W will be small, L will be capital, correct? If I have write another line as the method or as the name, W will be small, A will be capital, L will be capital. And if it is Pascal case that I have to follow, in that case, every word first letter will be capital. And here main is basically a function identifier. I said that the function identifiers need to use Pascal casing. And that is the reason why M also needs to be capital.
What
Now,
is camel casing? Can you please
camel
tell?
casing, as I said, if you have two or more words name, the each and every word will have its first letter capital except the first one. So if
Okay.
I have a name like write another line, A and L will be capital whereas W will be small. That is camel casing.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes.
Now, here we are saying the class program contains the method main, right? Who is going to call this main? Do we call the main method anywhere? No. It is the runtime or the execution environment which is basically responsible for calling it. Now, with object-oriented programming, if there is a member of some object that needs to be called with the instance of the object. So I need to create the instance of program class, and then via that instance I need to say call the main method, like program p equals to new program, and then I say p dot main. But where I write that code? Runtime execution environment has to be the one to have that code, but then it may not know what is the name of the class that contains the main anywhere. So how will it do it? That is why here we need to say is static. With static definition, what happens is the instance of the object is not required to be created. Without creating instance, the runtime can just use the class name dot the method name notation to make the call to main method, which it has been designed for. It doesn't know how to create the instances. I mean, the CLR doesn't know how to create instances on its own, but CLR does know how to call the static methods. So that is why we define main as static. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So can you
Yes.
also just tell once that how do we make a comment in this program?
How do you do it in C language or C++ language?
The slash.
Double slash for
Yeah.
single line
Okay, it's same.
and slash asterisk
For multi-line.
multi-line.
Okay. Okay, so there is no difference.
No difference.
Okay.
The reason is pretty simple here. C# has evolved from C++ only. Okay. And hence it follows most of the syntaxes from C++. Does support many C and C++ features into it. Understood?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, what we wanted from this program, what it is supposed to do.
Print hello world.
Display hello world on the screen. Now, the screen means console over here. This console is basically represented by a class which is there in a namespace called as system. So I have to say system.console. I have two methods over here, write and write line. There is a very small difference between the two. When I say write, it displays hello world and keeps the cursor on the same line. So if I put in another write statement, that output will come on the same line. Whereas if I use write line, it appends the new line character at the end. So the next output will come on the next line. Understood? Maybe we can try with write first of all. Here goes hello world. Semicolon at the end. Done. Is it done?
Yes.
We need to get this file saved, right? So let's say file save. Choose your location where you want to save it. So in my case, the location is already shown here. D drive, desktop backers, desktop 5th March 21, Providence 5, and demos. Here I say I want to name this file as, within double quotes, give the name s underscore demo hello world dot, the extension should be CS. And then click save. Is it done?
In your case, it was showing save as C sharp file, but in our case, it is showing text file or all other files. What we have
Yeah,
to choose.
that is the reason why we chose double quotes in the name. If you are using normal Windows Notepad, you won't have the C sharp file option. Uh, I am using Notepad++, which is an editor for many of the code files also. That is why it has got the feature for selecting the file type, but that's okay. As far as you are saving the file with the right name and right extension, that is fine.
Okay, so we have to choose text file only.
You can go for all files and make sure within double quotes you have given the full name.
Okay.
Within double quote should be the extension also .cs.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it is showing as C sharp file now.
Yeah, because it knows that the .cs extension is for C sharp, right?
Yes.
I hope everyone is done with the file save operation.
Where is it showing C sharp?
You go to File Explorer. file type it will show as C# file.
Okay. Yeah, okay, right.
Got it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The next thing is we need to compile the source code, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So one way is you can open normal command prompt of Windows and then proceed for compilation. But in that case, you need to find out where my C# compiler is located. I mean, the path of that C# compiler or csc.exe file I need to know and set manually. If you have got Visual Studio installed on your machine, you must be having developer command prompt for VS already there. Just check. You type CMD in search box. It will show not only the Windows command prompt but developer command prompt for VS 2019 or 2022 also.
Yes, sir, it's there.
Open that developer command prompt. This is Windows command prompt only, but it has been configured in a way that it automatically gets set with the path of all the .NET tools. You don't need to set it explicitly. Make sense?
Yes.
Now here we are at a different path. This is not the path at which our code file is present. Am I right? It must be the same case for your also. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So what we need to do? We need to change to the path where we have saved our file. So the easiest way is, first of all, go to File Explorer. If you know the commands on DOS prompt or command prompt, you can use those commands. But if you don't know, it's the easy option to go to File Explorer and locate your file where it is present. In my case, it is on D drive. It is on D drive, right? So the first thing I need to do is, here I need to type D followed by colon and press enter. If it is on the C drive only, this step can be skipped. Understood? If it is E drive, you have to type E colon. If it is F drive, you have to type F colon, and so on. Now in D drive, in my case, it is there in a folder named as desktop backups, which has got another folder, desktop 5th March 21, which has got another folder named as Providence 5. And in that, finally, I have another folder called as demos. I exactly get into the folder where my file is. I keep on doing this until and unless I don't see my code file. Yes? Once I can see the file, just click on the empty area of the address bar of this window. It automatically selects a complete path there in the address bar. Yes? Yes?
Yes, it does.
Copy this path. Just right click and select copy on the selection, or you can say Control C, and then come back to the command line. Here type cd and just right click on the command prompt. It will automatically paste your path, the copied one. And then press enter. So once you press enter, if you have put the command correctly, you should be having the path visible as whatever the path you gave, and then the prompt with the cursor blinking. Yes? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Once you are done with this, issue the command dir and press enter. You should be able to see the code file that you just created. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Just before the name of the file, it shows how many bytes is the size of that file.
Yeah.
For me, it is showing 149 bytes. Correct?
Yes, sir.
This dir command is not actually required one, but basically is used to verify we are at the correct location. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Here, now the next command will be to compile the code. So CSC, that is C# compiler, space cs underscore demo hello world.cs. The complete name of the file, including the extension, has to be provided. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Press enter. If there are no compilation errors, you will just see the output like what I've got: Microsoft Visual C# compiler version so and so, copyright Microsoft Corporation, all rights reserved, a blank line, and the prompt coming back. If there is any error in the code, some syntax error or some typo mistake, maybe some case related error. Basically, C# is C++ family language, so it is highly case sensitive. So if any error regarding the case is there, the error will be displayed instead of the blank line. If you want to see that, I can simulate it. Let's say I don't use capital S for system, I go for small s. I save this change and I try compiling the code with this. See what it is doing. Is it not showing the error? Clearly says line number 9 has got the error. The name system does not exist in the current context. Line number 9 is where I have the issue. I correct this, save it, and compile once again. As the issue is corrected and saved, after which I am compiling. So this time it just shows the blank line. That means all well. Got it? Got it?
Yes, sir.
Issue the dir command once again. What do you see? Is there any change?
Executable file present.
It shows
There is one executable file present. Is it the final executable? No.
no.
The extension is exe, but it is not final executable. It is just an assembly which contains your PE header, which contains your manifest, metadata, IL code, and resources. Correct?
Yes, sir.
I need to launch the JIT compiler to take it ahead. Correct? But it is only pre-JIT which I can launch manually. The EconoJIT and standard JIT work on their own. We discussed that in the previous session, right?
Yeah.
How do we proceed then? Simply, you have to assume this is exe only, final exe only. So just type the name of your program without any extension. Basically, the name of exe file without extension, and press enter. So at this moment, operating system will read the portable executable header, PE header, and that whole process, JMP, core exe main, and all that will begin. And it launches the process within which the CLR gets launched, the app domains get created, and the entry point is called, that is main. And what main is doing? Displaying hello world. And that's the output on the screen. See the second last line on the console. Did we get the output? Desired output?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm having one issue.
Yes.
So, I first of all, I didn't get this .exe. Like in the local C drive, I did not have the Hello World folder.
Okay.
I could not find. So I copy pasted it.
Hmm.
Then the directory, I put the directory. I wrote dir. So in dir, I can find .cs file with 116 bytes, but I'm not able to find .exe file, and therefore it is not able to run
Okay.
as.
Can you share your screen?
Yes. One
In
second.
your case, everything is good, just that your code didn't compile. Maybe the code has got some error, or you missed that CSC step. This one. So let's see. Share your screen. We'll verify.
Yeah, I think I missed that step. Wait, I'll show the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is the compiler which generates the exe, right?
Yeah.
So just do that. CSC.
CSE.
C compiler.
Sorry, huh? Just this or underscore.
No, the file name as it is.
Okay. Cannot be found. Cannot be.
Just check your file name. I guess there is some mismatch in the file name.
Hello word. Acha word. I wrote word. Sorry.
Yeah. It has to be exactly same. Okay, now see there is an error it is showing. The type or namespace name console does not exist in the namespace system. Are you missing an assembly reference? So guys, can anyone fix this issue?
Capital C, sir, for console.
Absolutely. So
And write
Urmila,
also
just go
capital
to
W.
Notepad.
Write also capital W.
Oh.
Capital C, capital W.
Correct. Save and then compile again.
Upward arrow.
Up arrow you can use to retrieve the previous command. Urmila.
I
Press
did.
Enter.
It's the same error. I think I did
Did you
not.
save the program?
Yeah, I did. I think class, oh sorry, static also is
No, that is fine.
No, this
Probably
is
you
also.
have two copies of the file.
yes, I do. Like, um, here I pasted one and one is yours.
This is the original one, right? So copy
Yeah,
and paste this there. Next time directly save in that folder.
right. So it's just one copy now. I think it should work. The same error.
Wait.
Delete the other one, I guess.
The class name had a small p. Does that?
P.
Yeah,
That
it
shouldn't be a problem.
wasn't
That's the
kept.
convention thing.
Yeah. That's why I'm just asking. Like, is it a? Does it help or not?
Urmila, what you can do is you can just select file menu here in Notepad. Save as. And just go to the folder where you are looking to save this file. The one that you have kept open in the command line, right?
Yeah.
Just check what is the path in command line.
Yeah, this is the path. This is the
Okay. Now save it. Yes. So at C drive users formula sync documents. Put dir command there. Now use that CSC command. Up arrow twice and enter.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the correct copy in correct place now. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Now just type the name of the exe file. If you say dir right now, it should show the exe file also in the list.
Yeah.
Just type the name of the exe file without extension.
Yeah.
And you get the output, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So this is one thing. Now I'm going to make a small change here in the code. Replace right with right line. Save. And then going back to command line, compile again. And then run again. Did you notice any difference this time?
Or extra line is added.
Extra line is added just after that hello world.
One extra blank line is added. What does it mean? There is a new line character after the output, correct?
Yes.
Something
Yes.
similar to what we achieve using /n in C++, right? That /n escape sequence works here as well. So along with previous write statement after hello world exclamation mark, if I put /n, it would have given me the same output like this. So write line is basically doing exactly the same thing. Write line is write only, where write is appending /n automatically. That's write line. Understand? Understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's get back to the code. Here the thing is, if I'm going to use this console and the write line thing multiple times, don't you think writing system.console.writeLine, this big thing every time, is going to waste my time? Every time system.console. Can't I say that system is written once and there onward system is not required? I can do that. Go to the top of the file and put the statement using, and then the namespace which you are looking to import. This is like import statement. And in that case, you don't require system.console.writeLine. You can just say console.writeLine. Wherever system is required, you don't need to mention it. So that shortens my code, correct? Make it more convenient. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Save this, compile and see the output and see if there is any difference. What do you think? Will there be any difference?
No.
Technically, the code is the same. It's just the way how we have written that has changed. The logical part is the same. It is still displaying hello world with right line. Correct? So either that namespace has to be imported on top with using statement, or you have to use the fully qualified name for your class. Console is a class that exists in the namespace system. Okay? So if you say system.console, it's identified. If you want to say only console, then using system on the top is mandatory. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, so how can we use system like without importing it? Like I'm talking about system, not console.
You mean the first line, right, Simon?
Yeah, yeah. And normally in C or C++, we have to include like stdlib or something to use print statements, right?
Yes. Yes. So header files and all that you are talking about, correct?
Yeah.
The point is in C, C++, whatever you import, that is actually imported from the physical files. There is no runtime as such which is assisting you with some framework or some libraries by default. Your compiler also is not written like that, correct? Here what happens is the base class library is already by default linked with your program. So even if you have not added the reference to it or not imported it, it is just there. You just need to say use this namespace from FCL or that namespace from FCL.
So can we use also import statements here? So like if we want to import something different?
You can, like if you have created a library of your own and from there you want to use some namespace, the using statement will be like that only. So as we progress, we will anyways be looking at those examples also.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Many times we are going to use this using statement. One thing here, I spoke about IL disassembler, right? ILDASM. Just watch it on my screen. Here I use the command ILDASM. ILDASM and press enter. It opens the tool over here. I hope it's visible.
Yeah, it is.
I go to file and then open. And here, if the path is correct, I can directly see the exe. If path is not correct, I will go to the path where my exe is present and then select that exe. Just double click it, it opens something here. Do you see? Let me maximize this and then zoom it. Is it visible properly?
Yes.
What do you see there? On the top is the path of the exe, right? What is next?
Manifest.
And what we discussed in manifest, what do we have?
The
All the
assembly.
Details.
Yes.
The name of the assembly, the version of the assembly,
Digital
identity, if any, and then the same information about the assemblies which are linked to it, right? Right?
Yes, sir. But I just got disconnected for a while. How did you get to this page?
Yeah. So basically on command line, I just type the command ILDASM and pressed enter. The tool gets opened and then I just used file open menu to open the exe. That's it. ILDASM without space.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now I double click on manifest. What do you see here? What do you see here? This section particularly, if I talk about, this is the name of the assembly. This is the version of the assembly. We didn't provide any version, so by default it took 0.0.0.0. Understand? There is no digital signature provided yet by us. So there is no digital identity for this assembly. Only name and version is there. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But beside that, there is more stuff which is there. I said it contains the manifest information of the other assemblies or dependencies. Do you see one such entry is here on the top? Assembly MS corelib. What is this MS corelib? This is actually a DLL which represents your base class library. I told you .NET makes that base class library already available with your program, by default linked with your program. Did I say that some 5 minutes back?
Yes.
Here is the proof. I didn't added this, but it is automatically there. It has got a digital identity of its own. So here you can see there is an entry for public key token which represents the digital identity of MS corelib. And then the version of MS corelib is here. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so that is manifest. Next is program. What is this program? If you look at the code, we have given this name to something. Can you refer your code and tell me
Class
what
name.
is the entity which has got the name program?
Class name.
Class. If I expand it, here I do see few things, some interesting things also. This is where I have the definition class. It says it's a class. By default, it has taken the access modifier as private. We didn't specify anything. So technically in code, it is internal, which is treated as private after compilation. And then usually we say in most of the object-oriented programming languages that your class or your object by default inherits from a top level object called as object. Here is the proof. Extends system.object, where system is coming from MS corelib. Isn't it interesting? In most of the programming language, this is just a theoretical concept. Here we are able to see the proof that my object inherits from object class. Yes or no? Practically, yes. Each and everything in .NET is an object. Directly or indirectly inherits from system.object class. And then we also do say that if your class doesn't have a constructor created within it, system automatically provides a constructor. Do we say that or not? Something what we call as default constructor. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Here we see the proof. This .ctor as a method actually is nothing but the constructor. Some input is here, CIL managed. Can you tell me what this means? It says that It's a common intermediate language code and it's a managed code. Yes? The default constructor code also is here between curly braces. Here is the statement number 1. LDARG.0. Can you tell me what it is? It's load argument, means parameter. Then it says call instance void mscorlib system.object : .ctor means what? It's calling the base class constructor where the base class is system.object. NOP, that is no operation, and RET, that is return. What kind of language it is?
Assembly.
Looks pretty near to assembly language, correct? In first instance, it looks like it is assembly language only. But this is not assembly language, this is IL, common intermediate language. Understood?
What is this
Yes.
MISC or lib?
This one, right?
Yes.
mscorlib is the library, the DLL file, which contains your framework class library.
Okay.
All ready to use features in .NET come from here. Understood?
Yes.
So, do we have enough motivation to learn intermediate language here? Practically after 24 years also, I am not having any motivation to learn this language. Who does this kind of programming in modern days? I hope everyone agrees with that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
See, it's not about whether we can do it or we cannot do it, or whether we can learn it or not. It's more about, do we have enough time to learn this and get the programming done on this? Will the client agree on the timeline that will be required by the developer who is coding with this language?
No, it won't. Won't be competitive enough.
And that is where IL is not recommended to be used for programming. IL is used behind scenes by the .NET compilers and the CLR. You write your program in high level languages. When you compile, you get the IL code automatically created. Correct? Why IL is required? Because that's what CLR understands. Either you write that IL code for CLR or you write your code in high level languages and compile it, translate it to IL. What is better? Writing IL code ourselves or making use of high level languages with their compilers?
Making use of high level languages.
Okay, then here you have main. This yellow S, what it represents? It says it's a static method.
Static method.
This pink cube is actually saying it's a method, and S says it is static method. See, this is the code we have written. Now compare this code with whatever code we have actually written in C#. What do you think? Which one is simpler?
The one in C#.
The one in C#. Easy to understand, easy to code, easy to compile, easy to maintain and manage, right? Yes?
Yeah.
I close this too.
So could you please just go back to the main.void, that thing that you had just opened?
Sure.
Just want to ask something from there.
Sure. Here it is.
If you can see, sir, here, technically what the intuition says dictates is the libraries would be the base class constructor will be created first because we are importing it
Absolutely.
before. I think, sir. Why is it getting called after the assembler is reading the hello world thing? And how is it even
Okay.
being able to read it before
Here,
calling it?
here it's not the base class constructor thing. It is the system namespace console class write line method, the static method we are calling. It has nothing to do with the base class object.
If it is not even okay, so let's say that he doesn't call the base class constructor initially.
It does
Then,
call. It does call. Basically, the constructor is called within our constructor. Here it is calling.
okay.
Now, once the class is initialized, after that the main stuff is running.
Yeah, I got it, sir. Okay.
So what it is doing, it is loading the string hello world on the stack and then passing that string to the write line method
Right
of
line. Yeah.
console class, which comes from the system namespace, where system namespace itself comes from mscorlib,
This
the
call,
base class library.
that has been called from the constructor initially. Okay. Got it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And this is just as per the code that we have written in C Sharp, just a translated version of the same. Got my point?
Yeah.
Now, if all the system provided stuff is coming from some namespace, don't you think my class also should be written in a namespace scope? Later on, if I need to have another class with the name program, I should be able to write it in the same application.
That would
So
be convenient.
what I do is I just select the complete class code, cut it, and here I say namespace s underscore demo hello world. Namespace scope that is defined by the curly braces, and paste my code back and just do the alignment properly and save. Logically, nothing changed once again. I just said that program class is not just written directly. Program class is present within a namespace called as CS demo hello world. Do you get it? If I compile this,
So what difference does this exactly make?
logically no difference, but in terms of code management, in terms of code discoverability later on, when your program becomes complex with hundreds and thousands of classes, locating a specific class basically becomes easy with this. And naming conflicts are avoided. Yesterday we discussed about a case where we use schemas, remember?
Yes.
And we discussed few things over there like naming conflict and all, then two departments needing the same object. It is exactly the same purpose of namespace.
Okay. So
Logically,
namespace is the schema and
yes,
program is the like the table, like that.
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
For understanding, yes, that is perfect.
Okay.
So logically, at execution level, there is no difference. I compiled it without any error. It got compiled. I run it. I get the same output. And even if I go to IL-DASM, it will be almost the same. Watch
Structure
it.
is a bit different.
Structure is a bit different because my program structure has changed here, right? The only difference is here also it says on the top level I have a namespace CS demo hello world which contains the class program, and fully qualified name of the program class also has changed. Earlier it was just program, now it is having the name of the namespace also. This is exactly similar to the schemas that we used yesterday. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Now, one question. In fact, it's an assignment that I will be assisting you to get completed. My requirement has changed a bit. Instead of showing hello world uh, as the static text, I want this program should greet me with my name. Hello Saket. And that Saket should be taken as input via the command line. I mean, if I run the program like this, it should give me the output as hello Saket. If I say this, it should show me hello Saket Karnik. If I say this, it should show hello John. What all changes I need to make? Think in the way if you are writing the program in C++, what you would have done there?
Made a C in statement.
No, that will take the input interactively. Right, after running the program, it will ask the user to make the entry. Am I right?
Use arguments.
Passing arguments in the main function.
Passing arguments in the main. So exactly that is the solution here. Main can take in one parameter of type string array. Let's say which is named as arms. That's the first change. Second change would be here. I put curly braces, index number as 0, and then after double quotes I say that index number 0 is going to be replaced by args of 0. Args of 0, I'm sure everyone must have understood. First element in the array should be displayed. That is what args of 0 mean. That's an array, right? That's how we access the array elements. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What is this curly brace 0? And what is its equivalent in C, C++?
Mod as a mod that we write in C.
Correct. Percent S, that modifier we use, right?
Yeah.
For strings we use percent S. For integers we use percent %d and so on. Correct?
Yes.
This curly brace is exactly doing the same thing. It is the placeholder. Now what is the significance of this 0? If I change my code to this, what would happen? What it will display? Suppose on arguments I have put John. So will it display me hello John or hello Saket?
Saket. Saket. Okay. Saket as it is the 0th argument.
If I say 1,
Then John.
so what do you understand by this? Whatever you put after this comma, whatever you put after the first comma, that becomes an array in itself, and from that array, which element you want to display is decided by this number. Understood?
Yes.
So let's save this and go to command line, compile, and run it with input. So I get the desired result. If I don't give any input, I'm having an exception. Index out of range. What if I say this is Saket Karnik? It still shows hello Saket. Why?
Karnik becomes arguments.
Second argument.
Zero, yeah, second.
So if I want complete name, what I can do? Wrap the complete name in double quotes. So that is treated as one argument, right? Understood?
Yeah.
How to deal with this array situation and why it is coming? Array is coming because we are looking to read 0th element, and if there is no input given, simply it has to be an exception. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
One way is I put if statement to check whether there is an element or not. But if it is not predictable the way, maybe someone has put space or something, and program is basically making that value as empty, null, then also the error will be there. So how do I handle this? This is where C# comes with structured exception handling. I use try block where I put my code which may result in an error, I mean exception. If any exception, I want to catch it here. Which type of exception was it showing? Index out of range exception from system class or system namespace. Now system is already imported. So can I use index out of range exception directly? Yes. I want to capture that exception into the object X. And what I want to do here within catch block is I can write my user-friendly message over here using console.writeLine, or if I want, I can say display the message generated in this object. I have the choice. And then there is finally block also, which is guaranteed to be executed whether there is an exception or not. So maybe for now I just say console.writeLine clean up done. As I'm not using any variable, there is nothing to clean up. So just showing the message to confirm that this is working. Save, compile, give with one argument, it's working fine. I'm also getting the message cleanup done, right? With no arguments, it shows me the message index was outside the bounds of the array, and still it is showing cleanup done. What do you understand with this?
Cleanup, like the finally statement will be executed.
Every
No
time, whether exception is there or not. Yes? What if any other exception is coming in here?
Then there can be multiple catch
We
statements.
can have multiple catch statements. So if I don't know the type of the next exception, I can say catch exception, which is the parent of all the type of exceptions. So that none of the exception goes unhandled. But is this the right way? If this is permitted, what would happen even if it is index out of range exception? As here, I am using the parent class of all exceptions, including index out of range exception. This catch block only will catch the exception. All exceptions. This catch block will be of no use after that. Correct? Because my code will never reach here.
Yes.
It's just like you are having some issue that you want to escalate. Now, if your manager's manager, and the ultimate boss of the company all are sitting in your cubicle only, where the exception will be heard and solved. I mean, the issue will be heard and solved. The ultimate boss, because he is the person with higher authority. Yes, your manager and manager's manager will have no right over there to interfere. Am I right?
Yeah.
So what is the right way? The escalation has to go from your boss, right? You put that escalation to your boss. Your boss, if can solve, will solve, otherwise he will escalate to his boss, and that's how the chain goes on, correct? So the higher priority should be given to the specific exception types. So even if I try to compile this, let's see if it allows us. Simply, C# compiler is so smart that it says it is not allowed, because that is wrong code by design. It says a previous catch clause already catches all exceptions of this or of a super type exception. So that's an error. This catch block that you have written here is an error. Line number 21 it must be showing. Yes, it is. So what I'm supposed to do is, this catch block must be the first one to write here, followed by the generic exception handler. I just shuffled the order, saved, and then I say compile. It's compiled and it's working. So I can have as many catch blocks, 0 to n. 0 to n, remember. But remember one more thing. If there is no catch block, at least finally must be there. Either one catch block or finally. One of them is mandatory. If you are using try. Try cannot be used alone. It has to be paired with either catch or finally, or both. Do you get that?
Yes.
Is it interesting?
Quite.
Yes.
Say it's a simple program, but there are so many things we are learning, isn't it?
Yes.
Exception handling is not a basic topic. It's a high level topic. But we learned that just with a simple Hello World program. So it makes it easy for us to understand exactly what is the importance and how it works. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, one more requirement change. Here I'm using the input taken from arguments, command line arguments. Problem with this, reported by the end user, says they don't know whether there is an argument for this program or not. They just run it and get the error. This program doesn't seem to be very interactive in nature, correct?
Yeah.
I want to make it interactive, where the program should ask, okay, now enter your name, and then the logic should proceed. So runtime input I'm expecting here. What should I do? What all changes are needed? You can think of the solution in terms of C++, no worries. I will give you the solution in C# for that.
Instead of taking those arguments into the for printing, we can just use read line instead of write line. Take input.
Yeah, so C in and C out, what we used to do in C++, the equivalent of that is what is expected. So what I do, I go to the top and here I copy static void main definition and comment it. Select and press Control K, it gets commented. Control V again to paste static word main. Remove string array args. This line I have already commented. Here I say console dot write line. In fact, I'll say write. Enter your name. That makes the program interactive. Here I say string variable is there by the name that captures the input coming from the console. So to take the input from the console, I go for console.readline. Readline means what? Read till the new line character is not detected. So that comes as a string only, because console can give you string only. And then here I say console.writeLine. Instead of args of 0 here, I replace it with the variable name. Save. Compile. Oops. And then run the program. Instead of failing, it is prompting. Enter your name. I gave Saket, I get the output. I run again. This time I say Saket space Karnik without double quotes. Still works. This is much more better, right? More user friendly. Yes or no?
Yes.
That's how you have to enhance your thinking. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
You basically start at a very basic level whenever you get any problem statement, and then eventually put in your requirements and enhance your program further. Understood?
Yes.
If you directly target the final solution, it will be very complicated for you. Correct?
Yes.
Now, one more change request comes in here. What I'm looking for is to validate the name. I don't want the name to be empty or null string. I mean, when I run the program, when it prompts enter your name, I can just press enter here, or I can put a space bar or maybe couple of space bars and press enter here. This is not the kind of output that I expect. Simply, this is not an acceptable input, right? In most of the business scenarios, you will require such validations. Yes or no?
Yes.
How do I put validation?
If else
Conditional
constructs.
statements.
Conditional
Go
statements.
for an if statement where I say, in fact, string itself gives me a function called as is null or empty. I pass name here. Then console.writeLine, or maybe I can just say throw exception, because exception handling is already enabled, right? So it will go to the relevant exception handler. I say throw new application exception with the message name is invalid. Else Go with the normal flow and display the output, means process the data. Save, compile. First I go for the positive input, so I give the proper input. It's working. I run it again. This time I just leave it blank. Press enter. It shows my name is invalid. Run it again. This time I put space. Okay, space it's actually taking as value. So maybe I can put another condition there. There must be a trim function. Let me just verify the name of the function here. Just a moment. Okay. It's not the string class. Directly I can say name dot and this name dot trim can be directly as here itself. So or operator is not required. It will first of all trim and then we'll get the validation done. So avoids all the leading and trailing spaces automatically. So here I compile. This is the valid input. Run it again. Empty string. It's showing invalid. And then run it again with some spaces. It just shows name is invalid again. Okay. Interesting.
Yes, sir. Sir, I had one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, so like this this thing you wrote like name dot trim like after the dot is
Yeah.
null or empty. So are you creating this or is this an inbuilt thing that if we write this then this exception will be handled?
Guys, anyone would like to answer this question?
Couldn't follow the question actually.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So like you wrote if condition like you wrote string dot is null or empty in bracket name dot trim. So this thing like name dot trim or string dot is null or empty like this phrase is this inbuilt or are we creating it for this particular exception? Like how do we know which exception do we need to choose?
It is not an exception. It's just a function that says whether the string is null or empty. Name.trim actually, I think it does something like empties the white spaces and all. And
Leading and trailing spaces it removes.
okay.
So any space before the word and any space after the word has no meaning, right? So it removes that.
And so then after that, if the string is null or empty, then we know that there is no string to be printed. That's why we're throwing in a custom exception here. The application
No,
exception,
correction.
kind of
Correction.
name is
And
invalid.
Urmila, over to you also. There are a few things. First of all, your question starts with what is this is null or empty and trim, right?
Yeah.
These are the functions built into the system. There are two reasons based on which I'm saying. If you look at the overall code, have we written these functions anywhere?
No.
No in between.
We are just using it. That's the first case. The second case is .NET framework comes with lots of very basic required things already implemented so that you can focus on the actual logic, right? We discussed that in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think these kind of features would be required to be coded by us actually?
No.
They have to be there at the system level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first part of your question is answered, I guess. Right, Urmila?
Yeah.
String is a data type and it has got a method of its own already created as a static method, which has been designed to check whether the value is null or empty. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's a question I'm asking. So the value of this coming back must be some boolean, true or false, right?
Yeah.
And if statement requires a boolean, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this is serving the purpose. Now trim, again, I'm calling on the variable name where name is of type string. I didn't create this function anywhere. I just called. So this again is already built into the system, into the string data type as a member function. This is a static function. This is a member function. Understood? I directly called it. And what it does, I said, removes all leading and trailing spaces. The spaces in between the word will not be removed. So suppose if I put Saket space Karnik, that space will not be removed. If I put space Saket space Karnik space. So the space before Saket and space after Karnik will be removed. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this method is so smart that if name seems to be empty, trim method will not be called at all. Understood? And then the second part, on what basis we are choosing the exception, right?
Yeah.
So again, there are many situations where we know that this is an exception situation, like array index out of bound.
Mm.
There could be null reference exception. There could be divide by zero exceptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think those exceptions need to be custom made when .NET is so rich?
No.
The basic requirements are supposed to be readily available, correct? If it is custom made, somewhere we should have written this class, correct?
Yeah. Right.
We didn't wrote anything for this. We just used. What does it mean? It is already built in.
Okay.
And the system is like on the top level you have exception.
Hmm.
Then there is a branch. One is system exception class, one is application exception class.
Okay.
System exception represents all exceptions which are thrown by system
Okay.
automatically. We never throw them. Application exception is the class which is for custom exceptions ideally. So if we want, we can write a class of our own with its own handling code built into it that inherits from application exception. Because it is application specific, no? It's nothing to do with system. Like
Right.
name being empty is not a problem for system. Name being empty is the problem for my business scenario. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
That is why I used application exception. And I didn't create any custom class, so I use the parent class of all custom classes, that is application exception. But application exception is already built in as a base class for any application exceptions that you create as custom exceptions later on. Understood?
Hmm.
Like console.readline. Did I write the console class? No. Did I write readline method? No. Did I write write method or writeline method? No. These are all
I got
built in, correct?
I got it. Same as index out of range exception. That is
Absolute.
also okay.
Absolute. So
Got
if my
it.
condition says that it is something to do with the array index, I probably would have thrown this exception directly. You have
Hmm.
to throw the most relevant exception so that user is informed correctly.
All right. Cool.
Like you go for booking a ticket. Okay, while booking the ticket these days, some ID card is required, right? Maybe PAN card, Aadhaar card, which you don't supply, and you get the exception invalid date. Don't you think it is confusing?
Yeah.
It should be ideally the exception which says ID missing exception. Am I right?
Yeah.
So now I hope everyone must be clear about how do we choose exception that we throw. Yes?
So where do we actually see this exception? Like when we have to throw an exception, how will we know that, okay, right now we need to throw this exception or any other?
Whenever your system documentation says this is unacceptable, mostly with validations you will be using this,
Okay.
or within the logic also at times you put some checks, right? And you find that okay, this is not acceptable situation. Ideally I should stop the code over here, so I throw exception. Exception is a kind of an interrupt also, no, which lets the main program know that okay, there is something wrong. Am I right?
Right.
One more example I have. Within any premises, whenever there is a short circuit happening, what happens these days? The MCB automatically gets tripped, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is, whenever there is any current leakage, automatically the MCB system comes to know that there is a leakage, so I need to stop the supply. So for that there is a notification that has to go, right? So your wiring is made like that, which automatically carries the notification. Right, maybe it is measuring the current being supplied. If there is any drop in the current being supplied, it automatically comes to know there must be leakage going on, and automatically the MCB gets tripped. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is computerized system, automated system, there will be a program doing that with sensors. Correct?
Yes.
Right, say for example you are doing some data entry again. Date of birth by mistake is put in invalid format, or maybe you put some date, I mean the year portion, which is current year or the upcoming year. Not possible, no? How can I put the date of birth as a date which is not yet passed? That means the person has not born. So don't you think this is exception situation?
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Right, so your documentation guides you that okay, this is acceptable, this is acceptable, these are the things which are unacceptable. So for any unacceptable thing there will be exception. Now it is not only for input, it could be for any logic also. You're doing some calculation and the calculation comes to some result which is not acceptable or which is not within the acceptable range. Got my point? Last 2 years we are going through COVID and all, so there is a device which is being used very extensively. In fact, couple of devices, the infrared thermometer and the oximeter. Everyone must have seen somewhere. There is a range defined that okay, temperature should not be more than this, and for oximeter there is a range which says that the oxygen level should not be below 95. Whenever this happens, automatically you get some beep sound, maybe some color coding also, like thermometer shows orange or red color light, and something similar is there on oximeter as well. Am I right? What's that? That's a logical unacceptable value that you are arriving to. Correct?
Yeah.
That's not an input. It's just calculating on the fly, right? and then logically I know that this is not acceptable, so there is exception, and that should be that should be known to the user. Correct. The exception could be as simple as uh, disk IO exception. Disk goes bad and not readable, so IO exception. You go to ATM machine doesn't have enough cash, and you are trying to withdraw. Machine shows no cash. On what basis it shows? There is no unacceptable thing you put there, right? You wanted to withdraw cash from your own account. Your account had the balance, so there is no problem with that. Problem here is the machine, the ATM machine, the hardware itself doesn't have cash to dispense. So that is also exception. It shows you no cash. Correct? Got my point? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So time for the break here. After the break, we will be continuing with C# language for more features. Okay. So it's 3:40. We will be resuming at 4:45.
Okay.
4:05. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Shall we proceed?
Yes.
Okay, so just for your information, I have shared the 3 links for yesterday's recordings. Just check if they are accessible. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's continue with our next thing here. Where we will be focusing on some more control structures. So now here onwards we'll be using Visual Studio for our examples. So just go to start and search for Visual Studio and open it. Once everyone is on the screen, just let me know.
Hello. Actually, I was trying to access the recording. It's saying we are processing the video. Please try again later.
Okay, so which one it is showing? The 3 links which I've shared from that.
I accessed the two of them, first two.
All three shows we are still processing.
Okay, probably this must be getting uploaded. Just check after some time.
Okay.
Because after uploading, YouTube also does some compression and all, no? So maybe it is going on like that. It will be available after some time. Fine. So I hope everyone has opened Visual Studio and on the screen.
Yes.
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 Here we first need to understand how to create a new project. Here we don't play with the individual source code files, but collection of files together, and all files when compiled in a combined manner, there is just one exe or DLL that gets generated, which contains the code of all source code files. So that makes it easy, right? Because if we have 100 files, we won't be looking to have 100 EXEs or DLLs. If it is one project, it has to be one EXE or one DLL, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes.
So on the screen, you have the option on right hand side, create new project. Can you look at that?
Yes, sir.
Click on it. It moves to the next screen titled as create a new project. Here you have a search box to search for a specific template if you know the title, or else there are few more options that you can use. So 3 drop downs over here just below the search box. Can you see them?
Yes.
The first drop down is for language selection. So which language we are looking to use? C sharp.
C sharp only.
Select C sharp. Which platform we are looking to use is Windows. And then the type of application to start with we are looking for is console. So select console. Once you select all the items like this, what I'm having on my screen, only 3 or maybe 2 templates must be getting displayed on your screen. In your case, most likely it must be 2: console application and console app.NET framework. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There is not a big difference between these 2 templates as such, just that we have 2 frameworks to work with, .NET framework and .NET core. So which framework we are targeting? Based on that we select the template. If we are looking for a cross-platform application, we'll be going with first. If we are looking for Windows only application, we'll be going with second. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So for now we'll be going with second, console app.NET framework. Select that and click next. So once you click on next, you must be on this screen titled as configure your new project. Am I right?
Yeah.
Let's give it a name as CS_demo control structures. And then the location should be the same folder which we created earlier. So for me it is D drive, desktop backups, desktop 5th March 21, Providence 5, demos, and I click on select folder then. So it is the same path which you are having on the command line, correct? What is the latest framework version visible in this list?
4.8.
1.2.
4.8, right? Select that, whatever is latest. 4.7, 4.8, anything will do. Create. Soon you should be on the screen where it has automatically created a file program.cs, has got some using statements into it already. There is a default namespace by the name of the project. There is a default class by the name program, and by default there is static void main accepting the arguments placed there. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Go to Solution Explorer.
Saket, can you please tell the previous steps again?
Yes. So which screen you are on?
I'm on configure your new project, the project name, location, that one.
Yeah. So give the name of the project first of all.
Yeah, okay. I've
You
done
can
that.
share your screen. You can share your screen. I'll guide you
Yeah.
there itself.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's loading. Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
So give the name of the project, then location should be the one that you use to save the file from within Notepad. So click on that three dots button and browse to the location where you saved your files.
Yeah,
This
this
was the
one.
folder, right?
Yeah.
Click on select folder. And then
Okay.
the framework version should be the latest one available in the list. So if it is 4.7.2, that's okay.
Okay.
Click on create or next, whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, so I believe everyone is getting that program.cs open like this.
Yes.
What all other things you see on the screen? Can you locate an option for Solution Explorer? Either on the left hand side or right hand side?
Yes, it is on the right side.
Is it already open or is it collapsed?
It's open, sir.
Open.
Open means it must be visible like this, right?
Yeah.
And this pin button must be in vertical position like this, correct?
Yeah.
So remember, for all these windows, there is a pin button which is a toggle button. If it is vertical and if you click, it becomes horizontal and your window becomes automatically hidden. And whenever you go there and click on that option, automatically it appears back. And you click outside, it automatically disappears. So that gives you more area to work with the code. Make sure all of your pins like this for whichever window which is open are in horizontal position. If they are vertical, just click them. Done?
Yeah, done.
Then just get your Solution Explorer window visible. Look at the structure there and tell me what all things you can identify. One thing for sure you can identify there.
Program.cs. It has program and the main method.
Correct? So that is your source code file, correct? What is
Yeah.
this app config? If you open, you will find some XML stuff in that. What it must be?
Holds the metadata, I think, holds the information of which framework to use and all, the version.
Okay, so almost there, but it's not metadata. It is more about how my program is going to work. All settings or configuration items go here. Understand?
Yeah.
Settings and configuration. What is this references? What is the meaning of references?
The namespaces that have been used, I think.
Not the namespaces, but the dependencies on the physical assemblies. So whatever the assembly references you see here are all FCL or BCL references. I told you the FCL is automatically available, right? Any other reference to any other DLL that you want to add, you will right click on the references and say add reference. And then under assemblies is the list of all the system provided assemblies. If there is a third party assembly that you want to use or a custom assembly that you have created, you have to click browse, go to that DLL file and click add. It will get added. So for now, won't be using anything out of that. When time comes, we will be using this. Understood? What is references? By adding this reference, basically the entry of that assembly will be put into the manifest section of your assembly, so that your project knows or your program knows that, okay, I am linked to that assembly also. Correct?
Yeah.
Under properties, you will find there is one more source code file. Can you see? Named as assemblyinfo.cs.
Yes.
Some C# stuff is there. It is actually setting up some metadata for the overall project. So that metadata which you are talking about, it is basically being set from here, not from the config file. Like what will be the version of my assembly, what will be the file version, what will be the culture which decides which language to be used for my application, especially important when I'm working with multi-language application. Trademark, copyright, product name, company name, configuration, description, title, everything being set from here. And the unique identifier for your assembly also being set from here. This is used if and only if you are going to use this component in the older COM system. Otherwise, this idea is of no use. Is it clear?
Yes.
Then what else you have there? There are two entries with the same name. Am I right? With two different icons. One
Where,
of them is having the icon of C# language. Do you see that?
where it is?
See this in Solution Explorer?
Yeah. The other one is a Visual Studio project.
Yes, the above one with infinity symbol is the Visual Studio icon. Now, the above one basically represents your solution file. What is solution? Solution is simply a text file containing the information about what all projects your solution has got. Now, the projects over here have a different meaning. Project in Visual Studio basically means a module. I repeat, project in Visual Studio means a module. Do you get that? One ERP project may have hundreds of modules into it. Yes or no?
Yes.
So each module will be created as a project. But on the top, it is serving one single solution. Am I right?
Yeah.
So that is represented by solution. Understood? So it is just holding which all projects are the part of this solution. And what is this project file actually? This is an XML file. If you open it in editor like this, if I right click the C# file and project file and say open with, do we have open option? Unfortunately for this file it doesn't show. With .NET Core you will be able to open it actually. Maybe no, in view also it's not there. So what I do is I go back to the notepad and here I say, just watch it on my screen. File open. This is my project directory. First I'll show you the solution file. This is the solution file. Simple text file it is, containing information about the projects. And then I say file open. Here is the project file with the extension CSPROJ, CS for C sharp, PROJ for project. This is XML content file and has got information about what all files my project has got and some basic configuration in order to decide how the program will be compiled, how the code is going to be combined. So you can see there are two code files, and with compile tag there is some configuration being placed that these two files needs to be compiled. The config file mentioned over here. The default references included over here. If any other reference we add, the entry for that reference goes here as well, which is ultimately placed in the manifest. Do you get that?
Yeah.
For now, more than this is not required. You can explore this further once you get aware of the overall project structure later on. Okay? Let's close these two files and get back to Visual Studio. So I hope everyone is now aware of what is this structure. Most of the time we won't be working in assembly info until and unless we don't want to change the metadata. Our work will be happening in app config for configuration related entries and any source code file that we create here. As I said, there can be more than one source code files also. So very soon we'll be starting to use multiple source code files. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so now because this is control structures demo, one of the control structure we have already seen in the previous program, that is if else, correct?
Yes.
What is the next control structure which can be discussed? Possibly switch case. So the requirement comes here. My program should take the input of the number which represents a weekday. 1 to 7, any number should be given as input, and it should show the corresponding weekday name as string. So split it into two parts. What are those two parts? First, I need to take the input, correct? Maybe I can put it in a separate function, or maybe let's start here and then we will see how to put it into function and make the program modular. So here I say console write line, in fact write enter a number representing day of week. 1 being Sunday, 7 being Saturday. I define an integer variable named as weekday to capture this number. Dot read line. Now one problem. Read line returns me a string, right? Whereas I am expecting a number. How do I do this mapping? I need to parse this string. So I cut console.readline and I use the data type int, which comes up with a static method called as parse. As a parameter, I pass console.readline. So I got the weekday. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, shall we proceed?
Yes.
Now, here comes switch. Just type switch there and press tab. Automatically, it gives you some structure. That's the benefit that you get in Visual Studio. You also might have noticed whenever I'm putting dot after some class name or some object name, it automatically shows me a pop-up list from where I can select also the member that I want to choose, right?
So after typing switch, what did you do?
Just press tab key.
Tab. Yeah, okay.
And you get this, right?
Yeah.
So the syntax, basic syntax, it automatically completes. Here I say I'm looking to switch on. Make some space before default and create your first case. Case 1. What do we want? Console.writeLine Sunday. Don't forget to put break statement. C# is quite strict in this. The case is if have some code into them, even if it is a single line code, mandatorily need to have break statement. Non-empty cases in C# doesn't allow fall through. Only empty cases allow fall through. Do you get it? Case 2. It will be Monday. Case 3. Tuesday. Case 4. Wednesday. Case 5. Thursday. Case 6. Friday. Case 7. Saturday. What is default here? If there is a value beyond this range, default case comes in, and there I say invalid day of week entered. This is the message that should be displayed on console. I can also do some formatting, like here I can say console dot console color console dot foreground color equal to console color dot red, and after displaying this message I want to say reset the foreground color to default. Console dot foreground color equal to console color dot okay, we should have another method for this. Console dot reset color it is. Done.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And then this is the end of switch case, right? This curly brace. After this and before the main method closes, don't forget to put console dot read. Probably you know the reason for this. In C++ also we put something like get ch. If we don't do that, the console application just comes up with the screen and goes away. As the main thread finishes, there is no output display. It is displayed, but only for a flash of a second. Right?
Yeah.
So the work of get ch here is being taken care of by console.read. Now if you're done, in the toolbar, do you see this button start?
Yes.
You can click this, or you can go to debug and then select start debugging, or simply on your keyboard you can press F5 key, the function key F5. Anything will do. Once you do that, the console comes up asking for the input. Let's say I put 4. I get Wednesday there. Probably here I should put one more statement. Console dot write line. Press any key to quit. This interactive user knows the next action. I put 6. It shows Friday. Press any key to quit. I press some key. Then again I run it. This time I say 9 goes in as input. It says invalid day of week entered in red. And then press any key to quit again. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So one change that we did, see here with compared to the C++ is the fall through for the non-empty cases is not allowed. I mean, the break statement becomes mandatory in each case, including default or the last case also. C# is very strict with it. Is it clear? Another difference in future you will notice is switch in C# supports the parameter of type string also. In C++ it does support only integers. or characters. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Here, strings are also supported. Is it clear? So one assignment is there for you guys. You have to build a reverse program of this. Not now, after the session. Reverse program means instead of taking in the weekday as number, you have to take the weekday name like Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, and then you have to display the day of week in terms of number. Just exactly opposite of what this program is doing. Doable?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That is just to actually see whether switch case accepts the string or not. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with this, you might have noticed syntactically the basic control structures are going almost the same way how C++ or C language goes. Correct?
Yeah.
So can you create a program for me using for loop which displays me, which takes in a number as input, and based on that it displays me the most basic program I am giving you actually, asterisk. So suppose the input is 3, then I should get the triangle displayed which is made of the asterisk like this. Number is 3, so total 3 rows are there, and the last each of the row must have the number of stars equivalent to the number of row itself. So first row 1, second row 2, third row 3. If the input is 5, I should get the output as this. If it is 10, it should be accordingly created. Can you do that? You have to use the for construct. You've got 5 minutes to do this. Within the same program, you can do it. Just comment the existing code that we have put here. And do it. So it's 4:45, by 4:50 you should be done. Okay, guys, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
can someone share the screen and show exactly how it is done?
Yes, sir.
See, once again, the purpose of this assignment is just to get some hands-on how exactly the for constructor is used, and basically to see that it is nothing much more than what we have seen with C++. It works exactly the same way, right?
Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, sir.
It's loading. I can see only your logo. Yeah, now it is visible. Okay. Uh, Now put the input as 10. Run it once again and put 10. And then show me the code.
Is it visible?
Not yet.
No, sir.
No. Just share, reshare.
Okay, sir. I'll be now, sir.
Yes, it is. Now show me the code.
I'll share it again, sir.
Yes.
Visible, sir?
Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. Why two loops are required here? One is to go
Rows and
from
columns.
1 to the count that we have, and the inner for loop is required for counting the columns, correct? It's a row and column combination we are looking to display, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the first loop is for rows, the second loop is for columns.
Is there any screen visible?
No.
Okay, she unshared it actually. So
Okay,
Divya,
sir,
can
I'll
you share
share
it
again.
again?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, I'll share. I'll share again. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So for int I equals to 1 I less than equals to n I plus plus, that counts your rows. So if I have entered 3, first for loop runs 3 times. Then as a nested for loop, the other one runs int j equals to 1, j less than equals to I. As I said, whatever is the number of row, that many number of stars to be displayed, correct? So if it is 1, 1 star. If it is 2, we need 2 stars. For row number 3, we need 3 stars. So that is why j less than equal to I. And there we have the star being displayed with a space appended to it. And console.writeLine after this inner for loop is for changing the row. I hope everyone understands this. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now comment this code, and one more thing I'm looking to share with you. I hope my screen is visible. Here we did all the code in main itself. Don't you think the input job should be taken care of by one method and the output job should be done by another method? That way my program will look more modular. As and when required, I can use any of the method, right? It will be more reusable as well. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So one way is I write my functions myself and move the code there. The other way, Visual Studio assists me in that. Watch it carefully on my screen first. This is all the input job, correct? Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Select the 2 lines over here, right click, and then here we have an option for something called as quick actions and refactoring. Select that. Once you select that, here there is a pop-up menu coming in showing 2 options, extract method and extract local function. I'll select extract method over here. Automatically the code moves to a
So you're stuck.
I think is disconnected.
Hey guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, so there was some disconnection actually from the network provider actually. So that's why probably we had this break in between. No worries, I'll just say this new method is named as input or
So you're stuck again.
okay, again there was a disconnection, I believe some maintenance going on. So this is where we got disconnected, right? So what I did, I renamed the method here. Here in this pop-up also it shows the new method has been renamed to get input. Where all the change needs to be made, you have to put the checkboxes here. If you want to see the preview of the changes being made, you can actually select this checkbox also. Right now I'm not interested in preview, and I'm not interested in comments or strings to be modified because there are no comments or no strings where this method name was being used. So I just click on apply. So see here, those two statements now got changed. Those two statements are gone. Int weekday is just taking the result of the method called as get input, right? Right?
What option did you choose? Extract method or extract
I'll
local function?
extract method. So I'll show you again with the output operation. So just watch it carefully. So for now, this is the method extracted, and where it puts that just after the main method. You can see because that method is being called in the static context, the method here also became a static method. Why private? Because nowhere else it is being used. And the output is expected as integer only looking at that code. So that is why it put int method name, the two lines of code that we had, and here the weekday is being returned. It automatically did that. Isn't it nice? You can start
Yes.
with a simple program, write everything in one place, and then refactor the code to arrange it properly as per the standards. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
I want the same thing to be done for switch case also because this is the output code, correct? Now watch it carefully. What I do is I select the code that needs to be moved to a method. Carefully select. Only code which needs to go in method should be selected. Nothing more, nothing less. Right click the selection. Quick actions and refactoring. And then we select extract method. It automatically creates the new method here by the name new method. I just type the new name. Maybe instead of show output, I can say process data is the name. And then I say apply. So here you can see that entire switch case has been replaced with just one statement, that is the call to the process data method, which takes in weekday as parameter. And how the function should be created here is already created. Again, private static. It is not returning anything. So this time it took void as the return type, name of the function we gave, and then it was basically depending on an integer variable weekday. which it took as a parameter here. And then based on that parameter, the switch case is happening, working, and that's it. This is my main program now. Now see how clean my main method looks like. Just 4 statements. Output will be exactly the same. Yes. Nice feature, right?
Yes, sir.
Now back to that assignment which you did with for loop. So there is two more assignments now. There are 2 more looping constructs, while and do while. Everyone must be aware of, right? Where while is a pre-tested loop and do while is a post-tested loop, right?
Yeah.
Based on
Yes.
when it checks the condition, we use these terms, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I want you to rewrite that same program which displayed the pyramid of stars based on the number that I input. Earlier you did it with for, now you have to do it with while first and then with do while. I need both implementations. So not immediately, after the session you can basically work on it, and tomorrow morning when we start with the session you can show it to me. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Doable, right? You know the syntax for while and do while. Okay, so that is it for the day. Tomorrow when we start, we'll be starting with few more fundamental features of C# and practically object-oriented programming. We'll be discussing tomorrow only. Right? Most likely tomorrow we'll be finishing with C#, and day after we'll be working with the web applications using ASP.NET MVC and web APIs. Okay? So day after tomorrow means it will be on Monday. Tomorrow we'll be finishing with C#. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed the session today as well.
Yes, sir, we did.
First half was more conceptual but can't help, right? Because if we don't understand the fundamentals of the framework, we don't get motivated towards using it. We won't be able to actually code effectively. We need to know the features, the fundamental features, right? So now here onwards our session is going to be all practical session with little bit of conceptual discussions in between. So it's going to be more learn by doing the things. Okay?
Okay.
So bye-bye for today. See you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, sir. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Just check if the recordings are available. The 3 recordings now seem to be available. And today's recordings also will be shared shortly.